Hello, Georgia friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Soup of the Day podcast. And my guest here with me today is no stranger to Georgia. He's our district men's ministries director, and he is the pastor in Vidalia at First Assembly of God there. Joe Gabbard. Joe, thank you so much for making the drive over and coming to talk to me today. And I just want to say welcome.
I had a lady in my church that I hadn't seen the entire time during the storm. And she was in that line. My wife and I saw her. She opened the door to her car, said, "I've lost everything, Pastor. I haven't been able to get out of the house. Our cars are destroyed. My home's destroyed. I don't have a generator." That was the first time I saw her, was in that supply line at our public high school in a Convoy of Hope distribution. And we cried with her. And I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to reach." She's like, "I didn't know how to reach out to anyone." And we were able to bless her and I don't even know that Convoy of Hope realizes the impact, the kingdom impact that they're meeting. It was a tremendous outreach.
I think they do. I think they do. In talking with Hal Donaldson and hearing his testimony and the reoccurring testimonies, they have a glimpse. Let's say maybe they don't fully know, but they have a glimpse of what they are doing in communities, because not only are you meeting people's needs, but you're also, what you're talking about is building bonds in a community. And
yes.
And Joe goes from being the pastor of First Assembly to being a pastor of a community.
Yeah.
And it's not about personal influence. It's always about Jesus.
Yes.
Okay? It's always about Jesus. It's not always about us. We have a tendency to sometimes make ourselves the main character. And here's
we are not the hero in this story.
We are not. We are not. And my kids talk about, I'm trying to stay current on the current vernacular about main character energy and all this other stuff and matching energies and things. And it's like we make ourselves the main character of the story, and it's not. It is Jesus.
Yes,
as the main
absolutely.
character of the story. But our partners coming alongside, Convoy of Hope showing up like they did in that community. And now, not only have you been able to meet their needs, but you have reached a new level of influence and impact in your community.
Absolutely.
All for God's glory.
Yes.
All for God's glory. But through this, Jesus in the storm, through a hurricane, and trees down, and you guys are still, I drove down I-16 the other day, and there's still just trees everywhere along that. So it's still, cleanup's going to take a while.
Yes.
But the indelible mark that this has left on your community in a bad way with a hurricane has also left an indelible mark in a good way with your serving the needs of your people.
Absolutely. And, with Convoy of Hope coming into our community, it strengthened our church's relationship with our mayor, our city manager, and our Parks and Rec coordinator in our community. And that's on my heart, because our church really, through a supernatural thing 40 years ago in the faith of our community, our church owns 50 acres of land. And we really, in the history of our church, we've existed on like 5 acres of that land and not known what we're supposed to do with the other 45 acres.
Well, didn't you learn how to deer hunt on a few of those acres?
I have hunted on
I have a really cool story about Joe's first deer and killing Bambi out there. But
and then putting in my minivan.
Yeah. Guys, I'm telling you, we are converting these Midwesterners down here. But yeah, so you've been living on that 5 acres.
I, through a relationship with the middle school principal invited me to sit on some meetings, and they talked about the struggle with a teenager at the middle school age, and they talked about the number of single-parent homes, dads not around, being raised by a grandparent, and they just expressed, and this is a public school educator, just said, if we don't have a middle school student that is in a sport or they're in band. And the middle school principal is telling me this in tears. They said, "Joe, they're going to drop out of high school. Typically, we don't have a way to engage with their family. We send home notes, it never gets signed. report card never gets signed. We call, nobody ever answers. She's like, it's just an epidemic in our community, and it's communities all over. She said, we just need a way, and maybe it's outside of school. We just need a way to further engage with these young people. And she says to me, she says, I wish a nonprofit organization in our community would really invest in our community and build something like a community center just to provide another connection point in the lives of these young people. Mm-hmm. Our church is across the street from this middle school.
Yes.
And we have 45 acres of land we've never used. And if God's ever spoken to me, he spoke to me in that moment and said, the person she's talking about is your church. And it has become our dream and our vision to utilize every inch of our property to reach people in our community. And it's been our vision to build exactly what she was describing, a community center. Our community's different. There's not a single public gym in our community. There's not a place for young people, after school to hang
go
out.
Play pickleball or anything like that.
Yes, yeah. It is. And so it's been our dream. But I got to be honest with you. It's been hard to share that dream and raise money. And we're at the very early stages of that.
Right.
I have a son that's a junior in high school. And he said, you're not going to build that before I graduate from high school, are you? And I don't want to answer that question.
Yeah.
Like, we're just stumbling to get going. Coming out of Convoy of Hope, coming into our community and getting to know our mayor, getting to know our city manager, and then meeting the coordinator of our Parks and Rec department. He said, Joe, our ball fields have been destroyed. Our Parks and Rec area, I've just got to shut it all down. And I said, well, I have 45 acres of land. I'm like, we need to do something as a partnership. I mean, if we start with a ball field, if we start with we don't really have to knock down trees anymore. Just clean up trees.
They're gone.
Anything we can do. And the long-term opportunities that the Lord provides. If you would have told me before this hurricane, if you would have said, Joe, you're going to go without power and water for 15 days. You're going to go without internet for 7 or 8 weeks. You're going to go through all this. But on the other end of this, you're going to reach people more in 1 month than in any other single month since you've been at your church. You're going to now have partnerships where we're doing a food distribution now at least once a month at our church. Sometimes we do it twice a month. It's a couple hundred families that we're doing. We didn't do that before this. If you would tell me we'd start to have a partnership with our mayor and city manager and these different people, and then partnering with different churches. If you said, but Joe, you got to go without power for 15 days. And Joe, you're going to lose a car. And Joe, there's a tree that's going to fall on your house.
And you've got to deal with the insurance adjuster.
Will you do that if this can be the end result? I would have said yes, 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 and my wife would have as well. And that is the Apostle Paul. What does it matter as long as the gospel is advanced? And, our story's still messy, and I've made all kinds of mistakes. I am not the hero in this story. I am not forever faithful. He is.
Yes.
I've been frustrated. I've been overwhelmed. I've many times said, I want to ditch and go where a hurricane can't hit me. Where does it never flood? Where does snow never happen? Where does ice never happen?
I don't think those places exist.
Also, at the tail end of this, we had planned a missions trip. I had done a whole series earlier where I talked about all the places you'll go, old Dr. Seuss book, in our Sam Chan leadership series. In one of those sessions, Sam Chan talks about a church that wants to increase its missions giving and missions awareness. And Sam Chan asked the pastor an odd question. He said, how many people in your church have a passport? The pastor's like, I have no idea. I've never asked. So he does a little survey and come to find out, he's like, only about 10% of the people in my church have a passport. And so Sam Chan tells his pastor, start there. He said, if you can get everyone in your church, no matter what age they are, just to go through the process and the application and the investment and the preparation that says, if God tells me to go,
yes,
I'm ready.
Yes.
And he went through that whole process. A year later, Sam Chan says, how's it going? And he said, well, I don't have 100%, but I got like 80% of my church now has a passport. He's like, my missions giving has doubled. We have young people that are now saying they're called in missions. We went on 2 short-term missions trip. And it was just kind of eye-opening for me. And I did the same thing. I asked how many people in my church had a passport. It was less than 10% of my church had a passport.
Most people don't.
A couple of my kids didn't have a passport. And we just decided, and I kind of put that vision out to my church, that I want every single one of you to get a passport. And we went on a sectional missions trip. But this is right in the middle of just experiencing a hurricane.
Wow.
We had already bought plane tickets and but I'm like, we can't do this right now. We can't be going on a missions trip in the middle of everything we're doing. I had a sweet older gentleman in my church. He's in his 70s. And he said, Pastor, I don't understand why you made me get a passport to go to Colombia. And I said, well, you have to have a passport to go to Colombia. He's like, no, you don't. I thought it was a real odd argument. I'm like, no, you absolutely have to have a passport. He's like, I've driven through South Carolina several times. You do not need a passport. I'm like, do you realize you signed up for a mission trip to go to Colombia, South America? And I did. He went on that mission trip with us.
Are you kidding?
And again, just to, what a wonderful God moment it was in the middle of this storm to take 20 people from our church, most who had never left the country, many who had never been on an airplane, to take them on the mission field, and they are forever changed. So many blessings in the middle of what we've experienced the last few months.
Well, Joe, I just want to say I'm proud of the job you guys have done, and all of our pastors who have jumped in to serve their communities during this and other crises in their communities as well, because there have been others, not just Helene, but others who have gone in with the mindset that in the midst of this crisis situation in my community, God has called us to be a light in a dark place.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for your heart for soul winning. And I do believe that the best days of your church are ahead of you. I'm praying that the Lord would give you favor in that community center there, and He would open the doors and bring to fruition His vision for the ministry.
Yes.
Because He is the main character. So thank you so much. Pastors, we want you to know we're praying for you. We continually go to the Lord and we ask Him to give you favor. Favor in ministry, favor in your homes, and favor in your communities. That God would just do an incredible work in you and through you. And we want you to know that you're loved and appreciated. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you the next time.